Welcome to the Snowbirds Expat Radio Podcast. I'm Gerry Scott, founder of the Snowbirds US Day Tracker and the Canada Physical Presence Tracker app. Well, today we're going to do something a little different today. We actually just did a whole refresh of our website, which is called the Snowbird US Day Tracker. So Mike is going to be, we're letting him out of the cage. He's not going to be in the back room. He's not going to be the producer. He's going to be asking the questions, and he's also going to be the producer. So,
Gerry, quick question, Mike, before we dive in. What took you so long to invite me on your podcast?
Well, Mike, I don't have a good enough reason other than a lie. I didn't want you. I didn't want you on the show. You spend way too much time on podcasts. And I thought, why would I do that to myself and make myself look so so weak against the big kahuna here? So
don't take it personally, is what you're telling me.
I don't take anything personally.
Okay, I want to see the new website, but firstly, 2 quick questions, and then we're gonna check out the new website. And I have a few questions along the way. But first question is, where are you right now? Like sometimes you're in, on the island, Vancouver, in BC. Sometimes you're in Maui. Sometimes you're in parts unknown. Where are you today?
Well, full disclosure and making sure that there's no immigration or IRS people. I actually am in Vancouver. We've got a little bit of rain here today, which is great for the fires. But yes, I am in Vancouver today. Vancouver is my home.
Vancouver's your home. And one more question, and then I want to check out this new site. But what's in your iPod today? Like, I know it might not be an iPod. It might be your phone. I know even calling it an iPod might even date me a little bit here. But like, what jams are you listening to today?
What am I listening to? It's I went for a great bike ride this morning. And I got to tell you, I listened to a lot of Jackson Browne.
Jackson Browne, okay.
Going up a very steep hill, running on empty.
Looking at it. Rushing under my wheel. Looking back at the years going by like so many summer fields. 65, I was 17 and running up on one. I don't know where I'm running now, I'm just running on empty.
Perfect.
but it was a great start to the Monday morning. It was riding up. We live on the base of SFU, Simon Fraser University. So we were on the base. I rode up the hill. I had a great weekend with the kids, the grandkids.
Nice.
One of our friends from Kelowna, our daughter's friend, and I went for a nice bike ride this morning. And it was my typical hour and 15-minute bike ride. I didn't get hit by a car.
Good.
I made it to the trails and away we went. So it was nice.
I love it. I also did. I did about 90 minutes of riding myself today here in Toronto, and I was not listening to Jackson Browne, but next time I go for a ride, I will. That's a great idea, running on empty. Before we get to the presentation of the new website, which I'm dying to see, what if we started with a little history of the Snowbirds US Day Tracker app? Like, just give me a little history before we get to the website.
Yeah, so a little bit of a history of the Snowbird US Day Tracker. You know, I started going to Maui in 1981, and being a young guy back then, I would have been in my early 20s. We really didn't have too many concerns about immigration or tax. We didn't have any money, and immigration was, we just never ever thought immigration would ever come into play because we were Canadian and we've got the easiest border to cross in the world, between the relationship between Canada and the United States. Now, fast forward into your 40s, your 50s, and now 60s, you realize that there are a lot of concerns for all these snowbirds that are heading down south. So, you know, I didn't know a lot about it. I was a financial advisor on the Canadian side, and I really did not know a lot about the immigration. I just went across, I smiled, I kept my mouth shut, always abiding by all the laws, being very compliant. I didn't worry about it. But as I started talking to more snowbirds, and as we started spending more time in Maui and Palm Springs and Scottsdale with all these other snowbirds that were golfing and playing tennis and pickleball or bike riding, we realized that there was some serious concerns of everybody had a different set of the rules. They would say that you could, we always remembered that you couldn't be in the States 6 months less a day. And then we started hearing about this 3-year calculation where you would have to count in 2021, you would have to add up all the days and count 1/6 of those days. And every day for this year, or 2022, you would add up all the days and count 1/3. And then you would add up all the days and you count a full day for the current year you're in. And you had to have less than 183 over the 3-year period to prove that you had closer ties to Canadian soil. And that was a tax concern. So I started thinking, well, boy, this has got to be really difficult for people to keep track. I'm working with fast forward to where we are today and being licensed in both the United States and Canada as a portfolio manager. I realized that if I had all this information and I found it confusing, we better do something about it. And that's how we came up with the Snowbird US Day Tracker about 8 years ago now. And be careful what you ask for, Mike, because yes, we have a full-time job during the day. And now I'm one of these guys that are performing in every hall across Canada at nighttime. So be careful when you ask for a second commitment to your time.
So, Gerry, snowbirds, how many are we talking about? Like, how many Canadians are heading south of the border for the winter?
Well, that's an easy question. All you have to do is go down to your local border crossing, and you will see that there will be lineups. So I believe that I was checking this fact probably a couple months ago, and I believe that the number is, if it's not 1 million, it's past 1 million. Snowbirds are heading down south, either Florida, the Carolinas, the California, Scottsdale, Maui, the Hawaiian Islands. It's a lot of people heading down south these days to get away from these colder winters.
Okay, that's a lot of people. I think I would have taken the under on the 1 million over under, but that's wild. But I mean, we have horrible winters up here. I'm not surprised. Everybody's looking for a warmer climate.
Well, and I think you got that, after we went through the COVID, I think people really did miss going down south. They took for granted what they were doing and what they were getting out of that opportunity to spend 3, 4, 5 months down in the States. So the demand is back. The lineups are back. Get to the border early. It is becoming a bit of a gong show getting across, unless you have your Nexus card, and it's in good standings.
All right, let's dive into this new website. And as you can imagine, I'll have more questions because there's 2 hosts on this episode. So that's why we have lots to say. Two hosts. That's
right. Well, let me just share my screen with you. Okay, you can see that? Everything's in front of you?
I see it.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the homepage here, and really we came up with this nice little tagline, and there is so much behind this tagline. Have a plan before you land. You really do have to make sure that you need to be keeping track of the days you spend in the States, and make sure that you're not confusing immigration with tax, because what happens, Mike, is that people, they sit around these campfires down. I shouldn't call them campfires. They sit around in their little circle wagon thing that they got going down in the States, and they're drinking. And I think once people start to drink, they become a little bit more confident and maybe a little bit more intelligent. I know I do. And you start combining immigration and tax together. So this is a really important for us to not only have the app available to count your days, but we wanted to make sure that we were able to take all these resources that we have, and we wanted to combine them into one area that would make it easy for that person who is in their 50s plus, and they can go onto their iPod, earpad, whatever Apple's going to introduce us to next.
Right.
So really what we've done on the have a plan before you land, we talk a little bit about, eventually we'd love to see a little bit of a community when it comes to snowbirds on the wing, heading down south. And this is where we really put together our new video. We did this video actually I want to say we did it last year before we introduced the new upgrades and the new look to the Snowbird US Day Tracker. So we say, meet your new travel buddy. And this video will allow you to go in there and really kind of give you some information on what the new feel looks like and what we can expect going forward. It is a great video. We had the pleasure of doing it in Maui, just down from Kapalua Golf Course, in this past Kanapali area. It's actually in the Kapalua area. Beautiful area. We had, there's so many nice beaches there. So we did our video with the backdrop of the beaches, and we really wanted to get people familiar with the new app. And then what we've done in this last year or so, we came up with the Snowbirds US podcast. And I like to say that was my idea.
That was my idea, Gerry. I just want to remind you.
We've had arguments. I think every idea we come up with is somehow it's going to spin back to Mike that it was his idea. Because being from Toronto, you're just educated to know everything about everything. So anyhow, but yes, the podcast was a great idea. And what the podcast allowed us to do, and I always tell people, I'm not an immigration lawyer. I'm not an accountant. So we want to make sure that we put these snowbirds in front of the best people possible. May it be, you name it, on the immigration side, the tax side. And every once in a while, we'll just have something fun that people can relate to. We had a great guest in Don Edwards, who was a goaltender for the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Buffalo Sabres, and the Calgary Flames. And we brought him in to tell his story, tragic story of what he went through. But it was also combining a lot of snowbirds with these Americans coming out to play golf at Niagara Falls. Now that was back in the last week of June of this year. And I'll tell you, we had such a great time. I mean, I've signed up for the next year as well. I mean, just a great bunch of people, Americans and Canadians, and to meet on Canadian soil where things are cheaper. And I'm happy to say out of 50 golfers, I came in last. So I wasn't there to win anything. So we've got the podcast, which, like you say, we've got some great guests. And then we also have the blog here as well. And you'll be able to see the blog on the video with the audio, or you can just listen to the podcast and just go with the audio. But there's so many things that we've been able to work with. And, just everything that comes to my mind, we work with our marketing people, and we're able to get that great message out to people and the things that you should be concerned about. So that's the kind of the first part of what we call the homepage. We then go into some of the resources we have, Mike, on the website.
Well, I was going to ask, can we dig into that Snowbirds US Day Tracker resources page?
Yes, here it is right here, Mike. It's we have immigration, law and tax that's available, a little bit about different things that you should be concerned about. And you'll find that each and every time when you do click on one of these buttons, each time the reminder to download the app. It is a free app. It's available on Google Play, and it's also available on the Apple iOS store. And we do track the downloads. And I'll tell you something, when I first came up with this concept and idea, it was intended to do it for our clients. And then we made it available on the app stores. And I'll tell you, I mean, you're getting a couple hundred a day of people downloading this app. So be careful what you ask for. We've created a second full-time hobby, work, whatever you want to call it. So we know that when you go down to the States, you'll need US dollars. We do have a relationship with a national firm, which allows us to set up accounts for individuals and buy currency. And we do it at a very, very good price. Usually it's 0.25 over the spot rate. So to give you an example, what that means in the world of money, the spot rate is what's posted on major sites, and then a quarter point would be added to it. So it might be 1.32. You add the currency up, the quarter point, it turns out to be 1.325. Now, Mike, we did a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and I've been buying travel insurance since the 1980s. And I learned so much about travel insurance, not just from a consumer's point of view, but also from a retail point of view. I was shocked to understand that during this pandemic that we went through, the insurance companies were not so much paying out claims when you were in the hospitals because we had this travel alert. So you couldn't leave Canada, you couldn't leave the United States, the borders were shut down, but you had this travel insurance, and it was cancellation insurance that the insurance companies had to pay out claims for. And they lost a lot of money. There was no profitability in the insurance side of this travel insurance business for a 2-year period. So I don't know if that means that premiums are going to be going up for travel insurance, but we did get to learn a lot about the travel insurance that are available, the type of programs are available out there. And this site just allows you to click on it and go directly to one of the largest providers. I'm going to agree with this. One of the largest providers, you can go on here and get your insurance, travel insurance through Manulife, like I say, which is one of the largest providers. And the podcast goes into the whole, if you had to make a claim based on Manulife's strength and market brand, you're able to go to these insurance, and there's a whole process that is covered during the podcast. So that was a great feature that we added to, which was travel insurance. Now we're still kind of, just to make sure that this is not just another e-commerce site, we're trying to look at, okay, well, there's obviously going to be commissions generated off this. We're looking for a great cause on where that money should go. There's all kinds of things. We do a lot of work in Maui. There's charities that we'd love to donate to. There's great causes back here in Canada, maybe ALS or whatever the other. My wife worked in cancer research for many years, so we're always donating to cancer research. So there's all kinds of things that we're looking to decide. We don't want this just to be an e-commerce site. We want to be able to do something really good with if there is dollars being generated on this, with some of these services we have. Once again, you saw download the app pop up again, Mike. Trusted professionals. We have a great process that when we do have a great guest on the podcast, we want to make sure that we're able to pass on that person's information. And it's almost like I don't want to call it a dating site between you and an accountant and a lawyer, but we do want to make sure that we're putting you with the right type of people. Some firms are high end. They deal with the very high net worth individual people. Their services and their skills are priced accordingly. We want to make sure that if it's just a mom and pop that come on and say, I need some help, I've got some issues with immigration or tax, we're going to send them to someone who's a little bit more geared towards their value point. So we won't call it a dating service, Mike, but it kind of is setting you up with the right person.
It's got the Gerry Scott seal of approval.
Yeah, we know these people. We've worked with these people. Like I say, my full-time job of dealing with accountants and lawyers on an ongoing basis. We've met some great people. We know what they're looking for when it comes to their clients and what would be a good fit for them. And we get to know where it would be good fit for the users of the Snowbird US Day Tracker, people that download this app. We want to get to know these people. It could be immigration, it could be tax, it could be financial planning. Whatever the case is, we'll make sure that we get you lined up with the right person. And this is something that we've done. We've spent so much time on the podcast. We're getting calls, Mike, from, we had a nice conversation with a person from Quebec. They are the president of their homeowners association down in the States. And they said, Gerry, we'd like to have you for an hour. And I said, well, Mike and I have talked about these webinars, and we'll make ourselves available to communicate to people and really get to know the difference between immigration and tax. And there's so many things that are confusing people out there. when you wind them together, they become something totally different that don't make sense.
That's a great idea. And I always, as I've told you in the past, you could present at a webinar, like a 60-minute webinar to a homeowners association in Florida, for example, and we could record that and repurpose some of that great content for the Snowbirds Expat Radio Podcast.
Mike, are you trying to upsell me here? Are you trying to get some more of your services?
Well, that was
on
my
this
idea,
podcast?
Gerry. That was my idea. This is my baby here. And in fact, I'm glad I have the perfect segue there. I wanted to kind of steer you back to the Snowbirds Expat Radio Podcast. I live and breathe podcasting. I love your podcast. Now, can you explain the format for some of us who might be new to the podcast? Just give us a little 101 on the Snowbirds Expat Radio Podcast format.
Well, I'll tell you something. You got to remember, I am a snowbird myself. I do travel, as you heard at the top of the show. I do travel from Vancouver to Maui. I'm there. I have to know the rules myself. And along the way, we've met so many people. I did ship a vehicle from Vancouver, actually Tacoma, to Maui way back, oh my God, probably 7 years ago. And it was one of those cars that it was my wife's company car. We bought it. Our daughter drove it very hard. I'm sure that there was a lot of Band-Aids put on that car. But what we did was we thought, this is still a great car. It was a Volkswagen Jetta. We're gonna ship it to Maui. So you show up in Tacoma down at one of the wharfs. They drain all the gas out of it. They ship it. They do all the customs papers. And before you know it, 3 weeks down the road, your car shows up in a bar from Honolulu, on a barge from Honolulu.
Right, you're at the bar.
Yeah, I'm at the bar waiting for my Jetta, worried about my car, my possession. But it shows up in a barge. It clears customs. And then you have to get a license to pay the road taxes and everything. So we, not knowing everything about shipping vehicles down south, we had a call last week, I believe it was, with Adam from Tobacco, which is in your neighborhood.
Like he literally lives down the street from me.
Yeah. So our daughter worked for a large developer, North American developer, and they shipped some very high-end vehicles down south. And it so happens it was Todd's company that was doing it on the West Coast and down on the East Coast as well. So I was surprised that people ship these high-end vehicles for 6 months.
Yeah.
And they ship them down there, and sometimes the cars stay, sometimes they come back after that visit. So I'm assuming, when you've got a $500,000 Ferrari, you can afford to spend $2,500 each way, right, and ship that little baby down there so you can show off not only in Ontario, but also show off when you're down in wherever that may be, Miami or Fort Lauderdale or Tampa or whatever. So,
right.
So that's the whole idea, is that we get these questions. They come in either through emails or calling me directly. They say, Gerry, I need some help.
Well, that's my question is, if there's a listener out there who wants to contact you, anyone in the audience, we need a name for these people, FOGSs, maybe Friends of Gerry Scott. Like, how can a listener contact you?
Yeah, so we do a couple of things. We make it very on the app itself. It says contact us. You'll see that when you go into that Meet Your New Travel Buddy, you'll see that we go on about these little 3 radio buttons on the right-hand side. You click on it, it pulls down, and it gives you all the different services and a way to get a hold of us. So there is that, not only contacting us directly. I put my name out there, my phone number out there, and there is a difference of 3 hours. So I don't mind taking people's calls, but apparently our house does get woken. 9 o'clock Toronto time is 6 o'clock on the West. So I'll take people's calls, and if I can't call them back right away, we will get back to them as quickly as we can. Well, so, Mike, I know you like to wander and you like to go through all these things, but I'm going to continue to go on to another portion of the website,
which
is the Snowbird podcast and where that podcast is available. It makes it seem like we're big shots when it's being picked up by all the different streaming services out there, but that's just the world. And maybe, Mike, you can explain that better.
Well, the bottom line is a podcast is an open source schema. I know that's a complex way of saying that it can't be owned by any one company. I mean, so the lovely thing about your podcast is that it can be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, I don't know, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio. I use something called Podcast Addict. I won't name them all because we'll need an extra half an hour, but there's about 100 ways to subscribe and listen to podcasts, and we're on every single one of them. So, if you're an Apple person, you're taken care of. If you're an Android person, you're taken care of. If you're on some obscure operating system on a tablet or on a laptop, we've got you covered. If you're a Linux person, you're covered. So many, many ways to subscribe and follow along with the Snowbirds podcast.
Now, Mike, are you still using a CB radio? Is it available on the CB radio?
10-4, good buddy.
Okay. Oh, I don't know why I was thinking to bring up this.
You're thinking of that great song. You remember the song Convoy? We got a great big convoy. You remember this? And I do remember the song, and I remember having an aerial on my first car that was about 30 feet high. So what was your handle? Big Bear? Like, what did you have a handle when you talked to the truckers on the CB radio?
Mike, I would have been about 20 years old. I didn't have much confidence. I think I was known as Gerry Scott.
Okay, that'll work.
That was my handle. But it's very interesting, obviously, how we've moved from, and this is the point that I make. We have these. People can listen to podcasts, and I love podcasts. My favorite podcast out there, other than the 200 podcasts that Mike appears on, I really love that podcast called Fly on the Wall, and I'm up to date. When I go for my bike ride in the mornings, I got to turn on Dana Carvey, David Spade, and listen to who the next guest is. And I was listening to William Shatner the other day. People that are close to William know him as Billy.
Right.
So I was listening to Billy the other day, and it is such a great podcast. So podcasts have become very, very big, but we are available on, Facebook. There's lots of things coming out that allows you to kind of go into some of our little blogs that we do. YouTube, obviously, they're available. And of course, Twitter. We really want to make sure that we're out there to help people, and being from a small town, I mean, that's the DNA that you grow up with. Is we're about helping people and educating people as best as they can, because there's nothing worse than being denied into the United States when you got this big, beautiful home down south, and because you didn't know the rules. So it is serious out there. So I'm going to click on the blog. Boy, that was a beautiful little artwork you designed there, Mike, for the
that was my idea too, right, Gerry? Just confirming.
And once again, I think full disclosure, I haven't got the page here, but there will be another tagline out there that says Mike's Ideas, and it is long. Trust me.
That'll just put the whole site, Mike's Idea, please. It's the
I think we're gonna change the name of the app as well, Mike's Idea. And then basically on the very last page, it says a little bit more about the travel app. We did create another app. This podcast is called Snowbirds Expat Radio Podcast. We did create a second app out there for all these expats moving up to Canada. Once they get their PR card, permanent residence card, they're required to track their physically their days in the country. They have to be in Canada 1,095 days physically present over a 5-year period. So we did create that app for those expats coming up to Canada, and that's what we work with, is a lot of the expats that do come up here for whatever reason. We do have some tracking in the U.S., travel planning, USD, travel insurance, all these things, real estate. We've had a guest on a few times. Be careful when you're down there and you're having such a great time, and you and your wife are having, getting along and agreeing on everything, and you come across this beautiful place in Maui, or may it be in Florida or Palm Springs or Scottsdale, and you agree, let's buy a place. And I'll tell you, that's where a lot of the problems happen is people act impulsively. So if we go back to the very first homepage and the homepage itself, it says, have a plan before you land. And along the way, all these professionals that we can actually refer you to will tell you how to structure that home, be careful what you do, and like I say, have a plan before you land. So
Smart advice, Gerry.
Yeah. So other than that,
well, so the website looks fantastic, and it's so much value add, so such good functionality. Now, my question for you is completely unrelated. My final question is completely unrelated to the website. If I could make this magic happen, Gerry, if I could arrange for you to have 2 hours one-on-one with any living musician, so any musician who's still with us, I'm going to arrange for you and that musician to spend 2 hours together where you could, chat him up. Maybe he or she will have a guitar or a piano, whatever. Who is the musician that I'm arranging you to meet with?
Well, I got to tell you, I've always said that if you go back, I can't answer your question by picking one. I wish I was there when some of these albums were being written and being produced. I love the Fleetwood Mac story and of all the turmoil that they went through. And sadly, we lost Christine McVie in December of 2022. Just all that great music was written by all that hardship that the band went through. I would have loved to have seen the Abbey Road, the Beatles, when that was being done. I mean, Disney did a great documentary that I bought Disney for that reason alone, because it felt like I was there. And I got to learn all the Tom Petty. Never saw him in concert, but I loved his music. There's so many. I mean, we have a channel out there. It's on Spotify. It's called G-Dog Rock and Roll. And it was created by being out there with my friends golfing in Maui or Vancouver. And we've now got, if I'm repeating myself, 800 incredible songs. And it just continues to grow because everybody has their style. I was golfing with, and sorry to be such a name dropper. That's what you do when you grow up in a small town.
You know what, Gerry? I love it. I love it. Drop these names.
I try and keep up. Yeah, this is a big one. May it be a Fleetwood Mac, Mick Fleetwood, and he tells me, Gerry, you got to listen to this, or Willie Nelson's son, Lucas Nelson, and he'll tell me who the original artists are. I just love music, and excuse me, I have another great friend of mine that I met through Mick, and his name is Lenny Casatino, and he's a bass player for Island Rumors. He has got me into so much incredible music, so I cannot answer your question without rambling on for 30 minutes.
You also didn't answer my question. So this is, again, I love the idea of going back and being there when Abbey Road is obviously this is amazing, but theoretically my question is a plausible one. It could happen. So who is the living artist I could arrange a 2-hour meeting with you with? Who is this living musician?
I'm going to say Don Henley.
Okay. The end of the innocence. Okay, love it. Don Henley. So Don Henley is the answer, still with us, and theoretically could meet with you tomorrow.
You know what? We will. I'm busy tomorrow, but if we could do it on a Wednesday, because to be respectful of everybody's time, I'm not gonna shift anything. But the reason why I bring up Don Henley is I just think there's a great tie to Fleetwood Mac, maybe Stevie Nicks. They did Leather and Lace, if I'm not mistaken. Great song. I didn't know that they had a relationship and there was a love child and all the above. But I just love country rock. That was the creation of country rock, what it is known as today. And I love hearing about the Linda Ronstadt, the Glenn Fry and the Don Henley in the early days, how they were with Linda Ronstadt. And that's where they kind of got started with their music. And it takes it into Bob Seger and how Glenn Fry and Bob Seger were good. We're great friends as well too.
Well, Gerry, this was very enlightening. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I'm just wondering now how long it'll take before I get my second invitation to join you on your podcast.
You know, Mike, there's too many shows out there where they have two hosts and they talk over each other. So I think probably never. I had to let you down. Easy. No, of course, Mike, you and I, if Canada was about Mike being in Toronto and I was representing the West, I would argue we would do a better job uniting this country than those before us. We'll leave it at that. Thank you for listening to the Snowbirds Expat Radio Podcast. Our app is available for your iPhone and your Android. If you have any questions, call me 604-612-7526. Until our next podcast, I'm Gerry Scott.